They call me abomination, but destiny called me savior.
Kaira had always known she was different long before she understood why. From the moment she could walk, she noticed the curious eyes that followed her everywhere. Every face she saw in the village had one strange thing in common. They were completely bald. Men, women, children, everyone. Their heads shone under the sun like polished calabashes. But Kaira? She had long, thick black hair that fell down her back like a waterfall of darkness. It swayed when she walked, shimmered when the sun hit it, and it was the single reason she never truly felt like she belonged. The villagers treated her like a walking omen. Some watched with fear, others with jealousy, and some with hate. Mothers dragged their children away anytime she passed, elders whispered behind her back, and even the wind seemed to carry her name in strange tones. Her mother always told her to never cut her hair, never cover it, and never question why she was different. "You are special," she'd say softly, but those words never comforted her. Special didn't feel good. Special felt lonely. Little did Kaira know her existence carried the weight of a curse far older than the village itself. The village elders gathered every month beneath the ancient baobab tree to pray for protection. Whenever Kaira walked past, their prayers grew louder. Their chants trembled with fear. She didn't know why until one day she overheard them speaking. "A child with hair means danger," one elder muttered. "She is the sign the prophecy spoke of," another added, voice shaking. Kaira froze. Was her hair a blessing? Or a threat? That evening, her mother finally told her the truth. Many years ago, the village had been cursed. The gods punished them by taking away every strand of hair from every newborn child. No woman could give birth to a girl, only bald boys. Until Kaira was born. She was the first girl in 60 years. The first with hair. The gods, they believed, had sent her as a warning or a weapon. That was why everyone feared her. That was why they watched her like she carried doom in every step. But the worst part wasn't what they feared. It was what Kaira now feared about herself. Growing up was lonely for Kaira. While other children played together, she remained on the outskirts. If she approached, they ran. If she smiled, they frowned. Boys mocked her with cruel names. Women prayed loudly anytime she passed. Her hair, the very thing her mother called beautiful, became a burden she wished she could tear away. Every strand felt like chains binding her to a fate she didn't choose. But her mother hid her pain well. Every night she gently combed Kaira's hair, singing old lullabies in a trembling voice. "Your hair carries power, my child. Never let them break you." Yet, even in her mother's reassurance, there was fear, deep buried fear. Kaira could see it in her eyes, hear it in her heartbeat whenever someone knocked at their door. The village didn't just resent Kaira. They were waiting for something to happen. Something they believed her existence would unleash. And something was coming. It started with a scream. Loud. Terrified. Echoing through the silent night. Then another. And another. Soon the entire village erupted in panic. Kaira jolted awake as people ran past her house. Her heart pounded. Something terrible was happening. She rushed outside despite her mother's desperate pleas to stay in. Flames danced in the darkness. A strange wind howled. The ground trembled under her feet. At the center of the chaos was the village well. The sacred well. Water that had sustained the village for generations had turned black. Thick. Poisonous. Anyone who touched it collapsed. Elders shouted that the curse had awakened, and all eyes slowly turned to Kaira. Fingers pointed. Accusations flew. It started because of her. She is the sign. The gods are angry. In that moment, fear turned to hatred. And hatred burned hotter than the fire surrounding them. For the first time, Kaira wondered if maybe they were right. The next morning, the elder summoned her to the shrine. Every villager gathered, forming a human wall of judgment. Drums beat slowly. Incense filled the air. The high priestess emerged, her bald head painted with sacred markings. She circled Kaira, studying her like a dangerous creature. Then she spoke words that froze every breath in the air. "Kaira is not the curse. She is the key." Gasps erupted. Confusion buzzed through the crowd. The priestess revealed the prophecy. A girl with hair would be born. She would either save the village or destroy it. The destiny would depend on her heart. If she was loved, the land would flourish. If she was hated, doom would fall. Suddenly the village realized what they had done. Years of fear. Years of cruelty. Years of rejection. They had pushed the key toward darkness. Now it might already be too late. From that day, the village treated Kaira differently. But not with love, only desperation. They didn't respect her. They needed her. They brought her gifts, fake smiles, forced greetings. But she could see through them. These were not apologies. This was survival. Their fear had shifted shape, not disappeared. And that hurt worse than hatred ever did. Meanwhile, the curse worsened. Crops dried. Children fell ill. Rivers turned muddy. The sky seemed permanently gray. Every prophecy pointed to one truth. Kaira had to face the source of the curse in the forbidden forest beyond the village. Only she could. No one else had the power. The decision rested on her shoulders alone. Save a village that never loved her. Or let fate punish them for their cruelty. Her heart burned with anger, but also with something else. Compassion. Because despite everything, this village was still her home. Tears filled her eyes as she realized the gods hadn't cursed her. They had tested her. And soon she would step into destiny. The morning Kaira decided to leave, the air felt different, heavy, tense, like the world itself was watching. The elders gathered to send her off, not with courage or warmth, but with fear disguised as faith. Mothers clutched their children. Men bowed their heads. Even the wind seemed afraid to touch her hair. Her mother held her tightly, tears soaking into Kaira's shoulder. "Whatever you find there, don't lose yourself," she whispered shakily. That sentence lingered in Kaira's chest like a heartbeat. The path to the
If you
forbidden
love
forest
powerful
was long
African
and
stories
silent.
like this,
Dry
don't
leaves
forget to
cracked
subscribe
beneath her
and
feet,
turn the notification
echoing
bell
in the
so you never
emptiness.
miss another episode.
Shadows twisted between the trees, whispering secrets to the wind. The deeper she went, the darker it became. It wasn't normal darkness. It was alive, breathing, watching. She could feel eyes, hundreds of unseen eyes, tracking her every move. The villagers were right to fear this place, but fear wasn't going to save anyone. Only courage and pain. A strange humming sound filled the air as she reached the heart of the forest. The ground pulsed like it had veins. The trees bent inward as though bowing to something ancient. In the center was a shimmering barrier of dark mist swirling slowly like a living storm. And inside it, a throne of shadows. Something powerful slept there. Or pretended to. The curse wasn't just magic. It was a presence. A being. And it was waiting for her. Kaira swallowed, lifted her chin and stepped forward. The forest roared to life. The earth shook. The wind screamed. But she didn't stop. Because for the first time in her life she understood. She wasn't running anymore. She was facing destiny. As Kaira crossed the barrier, everything changed. The world darkened completely, swallowing color, sound and warmth. Her breath turned cold. The ground beneath her changed into black stone etched with glowing symbols. A voice echoed through the emptiness, deep, ancient and terrifying. "So the child of hair finally comes." The cursed spirit rose like smoke, forming into a monstrous figure with hollow eyes and a crown of shadows. Its presence was suffocating, heavy enough to crush hope. Kaira trembled but stood firm. "Who are you? Why curse my village?" she demanded, though her voice shook. The spirit laughed, a chilling, echoing laugh that rattled her bones. "They stole from the gods," it growled. "They broke sacred laws. They betrayed the one who blessed them. So I took what they valued most, their pride, their beauty, their daughters, their lineage, and left them barren and bald." The truth cut like a blade. But there was more. The spirit moved closer, its eyes burning like dying embers. "And you, girl, you are the loophole. The gods sent you as balance. But your heart determines the ending." His voice softened dangerously. "You have suffered. They mocked you, rejected you, hated you. Why save them? Join me. Let them feel every pain they gave you multiplied." For a moment, the temptation wrapped around her like a warm cloak. Revenge, justice, power. The spirit sensed her hesitation and smiled cruelly. "All you have to do is say yes." Her chest tightened. Her mind raced with memories, lonely days, cruel laughter, tears cried in silence. But also her mother's hugs, children's innocent faces, laughter before fear poisoned everything. She clenched her fists. "I didn't come for revenge," she whispered. The ground trembled. "I came to break you." At those words the spirit roared, shaking the entire realm. Darkness wrapped around Kaira like chains, dragging her to her knees. "Then you will suffer," it hissed. Suddenly the shadows shifted, forming illusions. She saw villagers laughing at her, throwing stones, calling her names. Their cruelty played again like fresh wounds tearing open. She saw herself crying in the night. Saw her mother suffering because of her. Pain stabbed deeper than any blade. The spirit's voice echoed. "See? They don't deserve salvation." The scene changed. She saw the village now, children crying, mothers praying, people starving. She saw fear, regret, brokenness. They weren't monsters. They were flawed humans drowning in their mistakes. Tears ran down her cheeks. Her heart hurt for them despite everything they did. And that was what made her different. The spirit felt it, her compassion, and shouted angrily. Love is weakness. No, Kaira whispered, struggling to rise. Love is power. Her hair began to glow bright, golden, powerful. It lifted like living fire. The ground cracked as light burst from within her, pushing back the darkness. The spirit screamed as light burned his shadowed form. Impossible, it roared. Kaira spread her arms, heart blazing with strength. I forgive them. The realm exploded in blinding light. The curse shuddered. Something began to break. The spirit struck back with fury. Darkness surged like a storm, clashing violently against Kaira's light. The ground split open, releasing waves of cursed energy. Shadows wrapped around her throat, trying to choke the light out of her. You cannot win. I am centuries of anger. I am punishment. I am hate. It screamed. I am hope. Kaira shouted back. She pressed forward step by painful step, every movement feeling like pushing against a hurricane. Her hair glowed brighter, transforming into streams of radiant energy whipping through the darkness. Every strand carried strength, love, forgiveness, and pain turned into power. The spirit shrieked as pieces of its shadowed body disintegrated under the light. Still it fought. It summoned storms, illusions, painful memories. It tried to break her mind, but she held on to one image, her mother's smile. Her mother calling her special. That love shielded her. With one final cry, Kaira thrust her hands forward. Blinding light burst out, piercing the spirit's chest. Cracks spread through its body like shattered glass. It screamed, shaking the world. Then, silence. The spirit shattered into dust. The darkness vanished. The cursed realm dissolved into pure light. Kaira collapsed, exhausted but victorious. She had won. But destiny wasn't finished yet. Kaira woke to warm sunlight touching her face. The forest was no longer dark. Birds sang. The ground glowed with life. Flowers bloomed where shadows once dwelled. She stood slowly, feeling lighter, as if a massive weight had been lifted from the world. Back in the village, something miraculous happened. Hair began to sprout on bald heads. Children laughed as strands of hair grew like magic. Women cried as their scalps filled. Men rejoiced as strength returned to their bodies. The wells cleared. Rivers sparkled. Crops came back to life. The sky turned blue again. But the greatest miracle, baby girls were born again. The curse was gone. The village erupted in joy. But then silence fell when they saw Kaira approaching from the forest path. This time there was no fear. No hatred. No whispers. Only tears, gratitude, and shame. The elders knelt first. Then the entire village followed. Kaira, forgive us, they begged. Their voices shook with truth this time. She stared at them. These people had hurt her deeply. But she had already chosen her heart's path. I forgave you before I fought, she said softly. And finally she was free. Life changed forever after that day. Kaira wasn't just the strange girl anymore. She became the savior. The village honored her with songs, stories, and celebration. But beyond the honor, what truly mattered was something simple. She finally felt loved. Children followed her happily. Women smiled genuinely. Men respected her strength. The high priestess declared a new decree. Every child would be taught Kaira's story so no heart would ever be ruled by fear again. A shrine of gratitude was built, not to worship her, but to remember what love, courage, and forgiveness can do. Kaira and her mother lived in peace. Her hair remained powerful, but now it symbolized hope, not fear. Sometimes she would sit beneath the baobab tree, smiling at the village she almost lost but still chose to save. One evening, as the sun painted the sky gold, she whispered, "Thank you, gods, for choosing me." And somewhere in the wind, a gentle voice replied, "No, child. Thank you for choosing love." A new era began, and Kaira's name would never be forgotten. Though peace returned to the village, life didn't instantly become perfect. Being the girl who saved everyone came with a new kind of pressure. Everywhere Kaira went, people bowed, greeted her with exaggerated honor, and expected wisdom from her every word. Children stared at her like a goddess. Elders treated her like a living prophecy. Sometimes she wished they would talk to her like a normal girl. But transformation takes time. People were learning slowly to love her sincerely instead of worshipping her out of guilt. Still, Kaira could feel hidden whispers. Some villagers still feared the memory of the curse. Some still wondered, what if it returns? What if she changes? But Kaira didn't let it break her again. She had fought something far greater than them. She had fought darkness itself. And she had won. One evening, she sat with the high priestess under the sunset. "Child," the priestess said gently, "saving the village wasn't your final destiny. Your true destiny is to live, to experience joy, to build, to be happy." Those words eased a deep ache she didn't know still existed. That night, the village held a celebration, not to worship her, but to celebrate life. Music filled the air. Drums beat with joy instead of fear. Laughter danced freely. And for the first time ever, Kaira joined in without feeling like an outsider. She laughed. She danced. She lived. And in that moment, she realized something profound. This wasn't just a village saved from a curse. It was a village given a second chance. Peace can be fragile. Weeks passed in happiness until one day, a disturbing rumor spread. A nearby village fell into sudden misfortune. Crops drying, children falling weak, wells turning dark. Fear immediately slithered back into the hearts of Kaira's people. What if the curse moved? What if it returns? What if it follows her? Eyes began turning toward Kaira again, not with hatred this time, but desperate expectation. They believed she was now responsible for every spiritual problem in every land around them. The elders came trembling. "Kaira, they need you." Fear touched her heart again. But this time it wasn't for herself. It was for others. Was she meant to keep fighting curses forever? Was she destined to always carry the world's problems? Her mother noticed the weight on her shoulders and took her hands gently. "You don't owe the world your life, my child. You broke your curse. You saved your people. Don't lose yourself to endless battles." But Kaira also knew compassion wasn't something you choose once. It lived in you. She couldn't ignore suffering. She had seen darkness. She knew its pain. That night, she prayed beneath the stars, asking the gods for guidance. And the wind carried the answer. "You are light. Light does not run from darkness." Kaira opened her eyes. She had made her decision. The next morning, Kaira prepared to leave. This time not because she was forced, not because she was hated, but because she chose to help. The village gathered, but instead of crying in fear, they surrounded her with blessings. Children hugged her. Women sang softly. Men promised to protect her home until she returned. The high priestess placed a golden pendant around Kaira's neck, glowing faintly with divine light. "This will guide your spirit and remind you of who you are," she said. Her mother embraced her longer than anyone else. "Go with courage, but don't forget to return," she whispered, voice shaking between pride and fear. Kaira smiled. "I promise." As she walked away from the village, she didn't feel alone like before. She carried love with her. She carried belonging. And she carried strength no curse could ever break again. The road ahead was uncertain. Forests, valleys, mountains, mystery awaited her. But fear no longer controlled her life. She had turned fear into courage and pain into purpose. And as she stepped beyond the land she had always known, a new destiny opened. Not forced upon her, but chosen.